A tiny house is simply an alternative to the stand. While the rest of America is worried about building bigger and getting as much stuff as they can and just really getting everything that they can find in their sight, they're missing out on what's really important. One answer that many millennials have found to combat this is tiny homes. Essentially, these are just small houses that require you to really keep what is most valuable to you. Get rid of all the stuff that's cluttering your life that you really don't need. Tiny houses also represent another side of the current millennials who are trying to save the earth. Give back to Mother Nature a little bit. By getting rid of a lot of this square footage and a lot of this land that we don't need, we're equaling out to not only cutting back our carbon emissions per square footage and the materials we need, but we're also cutting back on the stuff that we fill our houses with and the clutter we put in. Another really important thing about tiny houses that I myself find important is that they're a lot cheaper and a lot easier to maintain in Virginia, which is a really expensive place to live in, all things considered. It's hard to own your own home in Virginia, but a tiny house allows for you to do so without cutting out all the things you love, along with helping out Mother Earth. I started looking at tiny homes as an alternative to a real house due to the fact that I'm moving up in my job and I'm tired of renting. As I was looking around for places to live in Northern Virginia, I found an extremely hard problem ahead of me. If I wanted to live close, it would cost me a lot of money and I'd have to end up working 90-hour days without ever going home essentially and having to spend a lot of money so I can't even get furniture or the basic necessities that I want or even go out. The flip side of that is I can live really far out in a nice big house that I can afford, but I'll have to drive 2 hours to get to work and then 2 hours to get back home. Plus, if I want to do anything, there's not much to do around there. And at that point, I'm starting to think maybe the 90 hours isn't too bad. To combat this, I was looking at tiny homes, and they really show a lot of promise. But as we go back into Fairfax, the land itself is costing a lot more. And it's really just taking big chunks out. The houses are starting to cost a lot more. Everything's going up, 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 up. It's almost $500,000 to just own your own little home. And it's really just starting to hit people really hard. The Census Bureau is starting to notice that and showing a lot of these statistics, as we can see in the slide, about how much it's really costing Americans to live just in this area. The next thing that I do move into is that when I was looking at my tiny house, I really felt like I was hitting rock bottom on my quest because I couldn't find that much stuff to go into. But as stuff came into my vision, such as this blog called Tiny Homes for Tiny People, I found it kind of interesting to look into. This is where I found the book about building homes for tiny houses written by Karen and Barry Holloway. They both have built multiple homes for many people, including themselves, to just really combat this problem of the expenses. They're the quote unquote experts on tiny homes themselves, as you can see in the little picture right there. That's one of their designs for a tiny house with the link provided. The way they go about doing the codes and all that stuff is really interesting because they make you look into what your area can really do about it. Because a lot of people live in great areas with tiny homes and they don't really understand how to do it, and many governments haven't come into it. The other cool thing about the book that I found when I was going into tiny homes is that they ask you, are you really ready to buy your own tiny home? Or make one in most cases, as I would make my own. And a lot of people don't really know the sacrifice that comes with making a tiny home. You have to get rid of a lot of stuff that you don't need. And many people can't really do that. But the way they explain it is more, it's not getting rid of things that you love. Like if you love that bookshelf or whatever, that's yours. You love it. You care about it. You want to keep it. You don't have to get rid of it. It's not waste. It's more things like the set of dumbbells that you had next to your bed for 3 years now that you've never touched because one day you thought, oh, I'm going to get fit, and you just never got into it. They're saying get rid of that. Stay true towards your goals and to yourself because that's what's going to really make you happy. And that's what I found really interesting about the book and what I found interesting about tiny homes. They're not just a house. They're a catalyst for you to find things that you really love and just focus on. Another thing that I think is really cool about homes, or the tiny homes, is they're a great way to help the earth out. A lot of people live in big 3,000 square foot homes or these huge, massive homes in this area that really just like oh, I have a lot of wealth, but they're not really helping the environment because every square footage costs the environment a lot. The material to make it, such as trees, the cost to ship all those materials to this area because we don't produce a lot of raw materials here. And then the cost of labor is just to drive out and put the house up is just lots and lots of CO2 emissions being released into the air and hurting the environment, Mother Earth herself. Tiny homes combat this. They don't stop the problem, but they really just get rid of all of this extra work and time put into it when you can just get the necessities that you want, things that you like about a tiny house. And that's what Keeble explains in our article, stating that all of this that we try and do to make ourselves look better and a lot richer really aren't matching up with what millennials want. They want to help the earth. They want to show their own creativity in their own ways. And this is a great way to show it in this tiny house. It's just a nice little object that you can live in and really show what you think and believe in for this. Now, the final thing that we get into is the actual specifics of a tiny house. For me, the details of a tiny house is I'm building the things that I want. For me personally, in my tiny house, I need a bathroom because I like to shower, be clean and have everything else like that. But also for me, I like an electrical station that shows all of my projects and work because I work as an engineer and it's really great for me to see what I'm doing and have that to bring home. So if I have a project that I can't figure out at the office, I can come back and just build it on my own. The other great thing is I like cooking a lot. I don't bake, but I cook. So I'd have a stovetop, as we can see here, and I'd cook on top of electrical stovetop because not only is it more earth friendly, it's also better for me because it gives me a lot of less time to start up the electrical stove and get everything started to get cooking, so I can do things a lot faster and more efficiently. And that's perfect for me as a tiny house. And for many other people, they find other things like, as I said before, books. A lot of people like to read and stuff like that, so they can build their own little nook for books, so they can read in a nice, quiet place, look at the window and see a beautiful view as they're going through their book and enjoying. Tiny homes are not just a house; they're something that people get to really build and believe in and nurture their spirit more than anything else. With that being said, tiny homes seem to be the real thing that we can use to combat the expensiveness of Northern Virginia and also give ourselves a little bit extra room and time to grow ourselves spiritually. That's all I have to say about tiny homes.